And we are back to another Boss Bus Between the Cheeks Samurai versus Cowboy Bonanza Extravaganza with the one, the only Paul.
Yeah, and the one, the only Zach.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, tell us what we're doing today.
Oh, well, today, I don't know. This is completely different than anything we've done on this channel. We're going to be discussing cinematic tropes, so for context, last weekend I had a really bad sinus infection. It wasn't COVID. I tested myself multiple times, but I was bedridden, coughing, sick, just, you know the drill.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and I literally spent the entire weekend watching samurai movies and cowboy movies. I watched like 8 cowboy movies. I watched the Dollars trilogy, which is Sergio Leone's like best work. That's the Clint Eastwood special. I watched The Magnificent Seven. I watched Tombstone. I watched like 2. I watched The Ballad of Lefty Brown. I rewatched Hateful Eight. So I just watched most of those, and I watched a bunch of samurai movies as well. I watched Seven Samurai. I watched Yojimbo. I watched Throne of Blood. I watched... I'm not going to explain all the movies. Okay, regardless. I watched a lot of movies, and I've come to the conclusion that samurais and cowboys are the same thing in cinema. And it's a really interesting parallel. So, like, have you watched samurai movies before?
I mean, dude, The Last Samurai with, what's his fucking name? King of Scientology. In
Cruise.
all of the... Tom Cruise. Yeah. That's a fucking fire movie.
It's a fire movie. It's a great movie.
I think The Last Samurai is like that was one of my favorite movies growing up. And then I've seen cowboy movies like Hateful Eight, not like really cowboy, but cowboy-esque. I've seen Ridiculous Six with Adam Sandler.
Okay, yeah, like I'm talking about like old school. Like,
yeah, my dad loved like, John Wayne.
So you watch old John Wayne movies. You ever watch any of like the Clint Eastwood's, The Good, Bad, the Ugly?
I have seen The Good, Bad, the Ugly.
That's the best cowboy movie
I've seen.
Put it down.
The one where it's Jackie Chan and
Shanghai Noon.
Yeah, Shanghai Noon. That's a cowboy movie. I'll classify that as such. But yeah. What are your why? Why are they the same?
First of all, we got to look at. There's a lot of. I haven't like written this down, but I should. I'm gonna write a thesis paper on this fucking.
That's your
topic.
master's.
But yeah, so samurai so the cowboy, the cowboy movie, the western that focuses on cowboys. Either they're an outlaw, not necessarily like a bad guy, but they're more morally like duplicitous. Like they might be legally a bad guy, but they have a moral code. They come into a town, they solve a problem. Like, for example, with the the Dollars trilogy, so Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and then Good, Bad, and the Ugly, written by Sergio Leone. He's small and square and round. I love that name. That was stuck in my... Whatever. I'm rambling. But, so you have Clint Eastwood. He is a wandering gun for hire. In Fistful of Dollars, he comes to this town where this town is basically ran by 2 gangs. And they're 2 rival gangs that both like have control of the town. One has like a gambling and like the banks and stuff. The other one has like brothel as well as like guns and stuff. And they're rivaling. This entire town is like living in fear, living in terror. These towns control everything, or these gangs control everything. Clint Eastwood, the lone rider, comes in and goes, okay, well, seems like I can make some money as well as like fuck over these 2 gangs. And so he comes in. He signs up with one gang as like a bodyguard and like helps them out, plays some tricks, goes to the other side, plays some tricks. Basically pits these 2 gangs against each other. So they're like a bunch of infighting. They all fight together. They all fucking destroy themselves. He gets caught at one point saving this one lady who has a child who's also like been stolen by one gang as like the main dude's mistress.
Gotcha.
And he helps them escape but gets caught in the act, gets beat the shit out of. Runs away, and then there's a final showdown with him and like the big bad. He does the fucking the classic Mexican standoff, duel. Pops him. I brought this just for this episode, and at the end he gets some money. He gives it to the fucking bartender who was nice to him and leaves. Now, Yojimbo, the #1 samurai movie. It starts out, follows the main character, this Ronin. So a Ronin is a samurai that their master died before they created their own dojo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They are basically sell swords for hire. They don't have the honor that is ascribed to a full samurai. So Yojimbo is about this one samurai who comes in, and it's Taiga, he's like the
good rapper.
No,
continue.
In the 50s, 60s, he was like the number one Japanese movie star. Like he's
really
amazing. Yeah, he was in a lot of samurai movies, a lot of other movies, but he was in The Seven Samurai. He was in Thrones of Blood. He was in a lot of shit. And regardless, in Yojimbo, this traveling Ronin, a sellsword for hire, makes his way to a town that's owned by two gangs. And one gang owns the sake industry as well as a lot of weapons. The other side, they own the brothel. They own the textile industry. They both own this town, and everyone in the town is in terror. And so the samurai works with both sides, pits them against each other, has them kill themselves or off. He finds this girl who's the mistress of the main bad guy. He saves them, but in doing so gets captured. Fights his way out. At the end, they have a final square off where he draws it. They have a quick draw sword samurai fight where they both have a quick samurai thing. Fights. He wins. He takes the money, gives it to the bartender who was helping him out the whole time, and walks away. It's the same movie. It is.
That's
so
insane.
Yojimbo came out 3 years before Fistful of Dollars. Sergio Leone literally beat for beat steals that movie and makes it a cowboy movie. So this is two cultures that are separated by so many things. By distance, by history, by religion, by philosophy, by money, everything. The East and the West are so separated. But here are two movies that are exactly the same, except for one is the Wild West with the cowboy. The other one is, what's the name of the period where samurais are in? Echi, it starts with an E.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember right this second. Japan. But they are the same character. And so that, I watched Fistful of Dollars and then watched Yojimbo. I was like,
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
And I was and that got me down this rabbit hole. So the interesting thing is, and this is multiple movies, and then the Few Dollars More, which is the sequel to A Fistful of Dollars, is about the same character, Clint Eastwood's character, teaming up with another bounty hunter to take down a dude who's trying to rob the bank and his gang of members. It's them teaming up, and they're kind of rivals at first. They don't like each other, and they kind of have a standoff. Clint Eastwood's kind of the sly, kind of outlaw character. The other guy's a straight-laced.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be part of the army. They team up to take down this really badass bad guy.
Yeah.
That movie was stolen by the director. The director of Yojimbo, Kurosawa's son, made a movie that was literally the same samurai teams up with another samurai who's a straight-laced samurai to defeat a bad guy bandit. And you'll see this in multiple movies. Seven Samurai is literally Magnificent Seven. Samurai is the original samurai movie where these seven Ronin team up together to help farmers out. Magnificent Seven is seven bounty hunters teaming up to help this town fight off this banker dude. But regardless, and that's the thing though. It's really interesting. It's a samurai, historically should be seen as a knight. Because a samurai is super honor bound. They're owned by either a king or a aristocratic family. They fight for them in their wars. They're usually generals. They do all that stuff. A Ronin is a failed samurai, someone who never reached that rank, who uses themselves as a sellsword. A cowboy is the same thing. They're a gun for hire. They have a Ronin has a moral code, but it is not attached to law and order. It's not attached to.
So that'd be a sheriff.
Yeah, it's
would
not,
be above the cowboy.
Kinda, not really.
Not really.
I mean, because Wild West is different than.
Yeehaw.
Japan, but also the setting, the Wild West was very unlawful. Like, it was very, like, wild. There was, the towns basically had their own set of law. They had their own orders and stuff. And then Edo period, the Edo period of Japan, that's what it is, was very wild too. It was during a bunch of civil wars. No one really had control of the country, and so every town had their own kind of control of things, and they made the laws and orders, and there was bandits that would take over towns and stuff like that. You had these sellswords, and so like that lays the framework for an anti-hero like a cowboy or like a Ronin to be this hero, because they have their own moral code. Like Clint Eastwood, he has his own, or in the characters he plays, the man with no name, is because he never is actually given a real name in the series. He is a bad guy. Like, he does terrible things. He'll fucking kill people on a whim. But he has this moral understanding of like doing right, saving the girl, helping the innocent, like fucking over the bad guy. But like the same thing with the Ronin. The Ronin is a sellsword, but they are raised as a samurai, so they still have this honor-bound code. They still have this idea. So they are the hero to the masses. They're hero to the people watching the movie, but they are also seen as like an anti-hero in the views of like the law or like a legal sense.
Yeah.
But like, and it's more than that. Like, a samurai duel and a Mexican standoff are the same thing. It's literally a quick action. It's two people staring at each other with the samurai duel. They run up each other. One good swing of the sword. One person dies, one person lives. This is all about the quick, just one quick draw, being able to just do it. Same thing with the fucking Mexican standoffs. Two guys standing there with their hands smacked to the things. One quick draw, you pop it. Like, it's really interesting. So the sword to the samurai and the revolver to the cowboy are the same thing. But like, yeah, it's wild. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I've never thought to compare any of those movies. Especially, I've only seen The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I haven't seen the before.
Well, The Good,
movies.
the Bad, the Ugly is the best one, and it's technically a prequel because it came out last, but like honestly, those movies aren't a trilogy. Like the only thing that ties them together is Clint Eastwood is wearing the same outfit in the first two, and then in Good, the Bad, the Ugly, he's wearing a different outfit at the beginning. But then he gets that outfit by the end, which is just like a poncho and like a fucking shirt underneath, like a hide vest. But like it doesn't really. And then every other character are the same actors, but they play different characters. Like the Angel Eyes, the bad guy from Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and the second one is the guy he teams up with.
Gotcha.
So they're the same actors in every movie, but they just play different roles. But yeah, that series is one of the best. If you want to understand cowboy movies, watch Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Honestly, that's the perfect cowboy movie.
One. I just think it's so funny that like we stole an idea from them, and then in the next movie they stole an idea from us.
It's so
That's
funny.
so funny.
It was amazing. And then the Seven Samurai is an amazing movie. It's very old. Like, the thing about that movie is the fight scenes are almost like unchoreographed. Like, it literally looks like you're watching these bandits run into a town of farmers and kill people, and these samurais just kind of just swing. Like, it's very messy. It's very it's not really like cool. Like cool. That's like, you see nowadays scenes are so like trimmed and proper and like perfected. That's just like raw. And like it adds to the power of it. If you don't want to spend 3 hours watching a black and white movie that's not really clean, you can watch the anime version. Seven Samurai is one of my favorite animes.
Really?
It's like 20 episodes. It's set in like futuristic, like kind of like they have like robot, like mech kind of styles. But like it's the same. It's literally the same story. But honestly, I would, if that's a rec, check out Seven Samurai, the anime. You should watch it. It's so good.
I will.
You'll
watch
fall
it.
in love. I forgot his name, but
it.
the guy that's like he's a robot, and he's one of the samurai. Because like in the movie, there's the character who plays Yojimbo, and is like one of the most popular Japanese people or Japanese actors. He plays this character who's like not technically a samurai, but he's just like follows them around until they let him in. And he's like, "Fuck you guys," and he just like carries this giant sword that's way too big for him, and it's amazing.
Wow.
But, yeah, and then they turned that movie into Magnificent Seven, and it's like, and they did a remake with Chris Pratt, those guys.
Really?
Recently, yeah, Magnificent Seven. But the original basically is the exact same thing. But it's just wild because like there is nothing more separate culturally than Japanese to American culture, especially like old school, like 50s, 60s, especially when we're like right after the war, when we but their ideals, their hero, their like the cowboy to America was like the American hero was a cowboy. He was like lawless, but he had his law. He loved his country and stuff like that. But like they did the bad thing for the right reasons and stuff. For that to be like our idyllic hero, and then literally the other side of the world that we have nothing to share against, their hero was the guy who had their moral philosophy, but like rejected this samurai like code of honor and was just like fighting to help the little guy against these troubles. It's literally the same movie, and it goes past that. It goes past like literally how they shot the movie, like the scenery, like the way they do like right before like the shootout, you have like a close up on the face, and you go up close up on their face, and like twitching on their gun, and like you have this big wide like view of like the landscape. That's the same thing in samurai movies, where they're literally just standing there face to face, big wide view of the whole landscape, and then it's just quick, you know. Like that's the thing about cowboy movies is cowboy movies are not action movies. Like there is action in cowboy movies, but they're really quick. They're not as like choreographed. It's literally like one focus. It's one bullet. You know, and a cowboy movie is way more about the philosophical or the moral understanding of what is good, what is bad, what is like what makes a good person. Yeah, fuck you. I love Tuco. Good, Bad, the Ugly is about Tuco. It's not about Clint Eastwood's character, but that's an argument for another day. But the idea, like in the same thing the samurai and the cowboy movie is focused on, is that if someone, like, there's a big thing about, like, what is a right action, what is good, what is honorable, what is this thing? It's like, if, like, Harikiri, which is my favorite samurai movie. Watch Harikiri. It's about this samurai who goes into this dojo and says, I need to kill myself. Will you... Like, it's weird. Like, basically, in traditional Japanese culture, if you were a samurai and you were disgraced, you committed harikiri, which is that suicide attempt, basically. And if you went to, like, a castle or, like, a temple or like, a rich person's place, you'd be like, I want to commit harikiri. They would, like, care for you. They would feed you stuff. They would also offer you a position in their temple or in their castle. So, like, you wouldn't care. So, like, hey, don't kill yourself. Become a guard in our temple. Yeah. And so this guy comes up and says, hey, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to commit harikiri. I have failed. I'm done. At least give me the honor of killing myself. Yeah. And this, and in the Edo period, there was a lot of people who said that just so they could get a job, just so they could get a knight. And so this samurai walks in and says, I'm going to commit harikiri. And the castle's like, well, fuck you. I heard this before. This guy just wants to get a job. He's like, well, let's get him to do it. Let's get him to kill himself. And he, like, they feed him up and get him to kill himself. And he tells the story. And it's like 3 stories in one. And it's very moral, and it focuses on, like, the main idea of, like, what is honor? What is a righteous action? Like, if someone of high dispute does something, he's praised for it. But if, in certain actions, of course, and I'm not trying to give things away, but if someone who's, like, poor or unhonorable or not seen as, like, a good person does the same action, they're regaled for it, or they're jailed for it, or they're, like, disdain for it. And so, like, the same action done by different people is seen in different ways. So is that action actually honorable? Or, like, what makes honor, or what makes a good person? And that movie, Harikiri, Hariki, black and white, amazing. One of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. But it explores that idea of, like, honor or of cultural, like, acceptance or rejection based on the actual action, not compared to the action of a good versus a bad person in the eyes of the spectator. But yeah, so this was just me rambling for an hour, but cowboys and samurais, they're the same thing, you know? Like,
I'm convinced now. I mean, it seemed like it could be accurate, but the examples you've given, especially in cinema, same thing.
In cinema. Well, like a samurai. So, sorry. Cowboys and Ronin are the same thing.
Yeah.
A samurai is closer to a knight.
Yeah.
Because like a samurai, like a knight has chivalry. Samurai has a code of honor. They fight for a king or they fight for a lord. Mm-hmm. They are usually generals, stuff like that. But a Ronin, which was the popular samurai in film, is the same as a cowboy, which is more popular than knights in American cinema. Because there's an idea of exploring that gap between chivalry or like honor and doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. Like exploring like where society fails, where law and order either exploits the lower class or the exploited peoples and like favors those good and corrupted like higher ups. And so that's where the cowboy comes in, and it's like, it's just my fucking steel, ain't no law gonna save you, motherfucker. You know.
Amen.
It's part of it. But yeah, I don't know if anyone listens to this because I just rambled that.
I think like they will. I think they're gonna really enjoy this. I did for one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know what you think down below, please. We would love to see your thoughts. If you agree, disagree, if you have more input, more examples of this synergy between the two. Mm-hmm.
It's just wild to be how separate they are and how similar they are and how much they've literally stolen from each other to make
for like the same thing.
For the same thing.
It's great. Well.
Yeah. And also check out Good, Bad, the Ugly and Harry Kiri. Mm-hmm. Great movies.
Also, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, because that's just a fun one.
I mean, yeah.
I thought it was shot well.
It's great. It's a great movie. It's not...
Far more modern.
I wouldn't call it a samurai.
It'd be separate. It's Tom Cruise in samurai
that's
clothing.
just whitewashing samurai. It's like, hey, we're going to have a white savior.
Yeah.
And
he's really cool.
Same thing like Last
And also the dude from Inception.
Yeah, it's like The Last of Mohicans, where it's a great movie, but it's literally just Daniel Day-Lewis saving all the Indians. It's like... Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like
it's problematic, but that doesn't make it bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, check it out. Thank you again for all of you who tuning in. Yep. If you have any suggestions, like we said, let us know down below.
Yeah. This was definitely a change of pace or a departure from our normal stuff. But if you want us to like explore movies or explore tropes like that in the future,
let us know. We would love to know. We just need some feedback. Let us know either way. But we had a great time. So thank you again for being here, Paul.
Always.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic evening. And
keep it real.
Keep it real.
I'm your Huckleberry.